I am Kayla, 29, a cook in Portland, and last night the doctor confirmed I need femur surgery this Friday. I just need someone to drive me home. I texted the family group chat and the screen lit up like fireworks. Vegas, here we come. I sat under the tired kitchen light, typed have fun, deleted it, and finally left a thumbs up. My bank balance barely covers rent, and I call Mr. Harris to feed my cat Pepper if I'm not back. Mum texts, don't put me in a bind. I promised your aunt. Lena, non-refundable ticket, you'll be fine. Evan, you're tough, handle it. But in a few hours, a stranger at the hospital will make a call, and that call will change everything. Before any of that turns, my morning still starts, like always. The knife sounds the heat, the garlic in a small kitchen. If you've ever had to handle it at your weakest drop, a comment, share your story, and follow along with me. I get to the restaurant before the sun burns off the mist over the river. Portland is still damp from a light rain, and my jacket carries the smell into the kitchen when I push through the back door. Heat rolls at me. The hood fans hum, knives clack. On the prep table, a laminated mise-en-place list waits under a magnet. I hang my helmet on a hook, pull on an apron and start. Miguel, our head chef, sticks his head out of the walk-in. Lots of vegetarian orders today, he says. Got it, I tell him. I check the cooler trim herbs set-up pans and bring a pot to a low simmer. The griddle hisses when I test it. Garlic hits oil and the air changes. Tasha slides in late, out of breath, and asks if I can cover an hour of her night shift. I nod without thinking. That's what I do here. When the printer spits out a special request we don't have on the lunch menu, I scan the shelves, pivot, and build a version from what we do have. Miguel passes and gives a quick good save. I just keep moving. Mid-morning, I grab 2 minutes near the back door. Rain beads along my helmet visor where I left it. I open my banking app and see the same thin number. Rent due next week. A reminder for Pepper's vet bill I split into payments. I slide the phone away. Tasha jokes about a drink after close, but I say I need to get home to feed my cat. She laughs and says I'm no fun. I say Pepper is better company than a loud bar, and it's not a joke. In my head, I picture the apartment a small square of space with a window over the parking lot, a stove that leans a little a shelf where Pepper likes to sit and watch. I text Mr. Harris, my older neighbour, to ask if he can give Pepper dinner if I run late. He thumbs back. Sure thing, kiddo. I tuck that small relief in my pocket and go back to the line. Service hits. Tickets stack. I'm in the pocket stir, season plate wipe. The room smells like roasted peppers and steam. The ticket printer jams and I pop the cover and thread the paper through without stopping the pan in my other hand. Tasha drops a tray of sauce and I'm already mopping and blending a new batch while Miguel calls times. It's a kind of quiet I like where my head is clear because my hands are busy. When the rush breaks, I check my phone again. A story from Lena flashes first slow-mo video of a pool in some bright place glitter filter, Vegas week in big letters. Then a clip from Evan at the gym, veins up his forearms. No excuses, as always. I smile without humour. Our parents are still in California, separate houses, separate holidays. We talk when we have to shorter every year. I don't blame anyone. It's just the shape of things now. I rinse a cutting board fix, a loose handle on the cold line drawer with a butter knife and stack labelled containers for the night crew. Habits. Do the extra so nothing falls through. Miguel taps the list with a knuckle and says, Appreciate you. I shrug. The hood hum drops when I kill a burner and for a second the kitchen feels almost calm. I lift my helmet to check the strap and do a quick squeeze of the front brake by the back door. The alley is slick. I tell myself to ride slow after close. I lean against the brick and take one long breath. The smoke smell clings to my shirt. For half a minute, I let my mind drift to a thing I don't say out loud, a class in New York I still read about. Late at night, the the one that could sharpen my work. Then I do the math again in my head and set it aside like always. The phone buzzes in my palm. Family group chat, William's fam. Mum posts a photo of 2 suitcases and a smile. Vegas, here we come. Lena drops a link to a hotel with a rooftop bar. Evan pastes a pool party schedule with fireworks emojis. I type, have fun. That's all. I slip the phone back into my pocket and turn to the stove. Steam rises and fogs a strip of the stainless panel so my face blurs in it. I wipe it with the back of my wrist and start the next prep list, because there's always another list and I'm the one who handles things. After, close, I swing a leg over the bike and roll into the wet alley. The rain is light more a mist than drops, and the asphalt shines under the yellow security lamp. I snap my helmet strap, squeeze the front brake, tap the rear, and tell myself to go slow. The engine wakes with a steady hum. I ease out to the street tyres, whispering over the paint lines. Most shops are dark. Neon from a bar sign pulls red on the pavement, then slides off my front fender as I pass. I feel that good empty after a hard shift, hands tired, head clear. A train horn moans somewhere by the river. I keep it under the limit. Shoulders, loose eyes scanning mirrors and windows. I think about tomorrow's prep list, and for a second about Pepper waiting in the window for my key in the lock. The road opens quiet. A silver sedan runs even with me in the next lane, unhurried, no signal. Then it twitches. No blinkers. It cuts into my lane. My chest tightens. I roll off the throttle and grab both brakes. Smooth but firm, try to angle away. The front end gets light, then skates. The tyre hits a slick stripe, maybe paint, maybe a manhole. Everything pulls left. Metal screams on asphalt. I'm down and sliding. Cold hits through my jacket like a slap. The world shrinks to noise breaks a horn, the scrape under my knee. Sparks spit from somewhere behind me. I see the white lane marker rush at my visor and slide past like a bar of soap. The bike thumps free, and I keep sliding until friction drags me to a stop. Pain blooms a second later, hot and electric deep in my right leg. I try to breathe. I try to move my toes. My fingers answer. My arms answer. My right leg answers with a bolt that makes my stomach flip. I freeze. Don't move, a voice shouts. Shoes splash. A woman kneels near my shoulder, eyes wide under a hood. Are you okay? I'm calling 911. I nod, because talking takes too much. A man drags the bike out of the lane and leans it against a pole, then shrugs off his jacket and lays it over me. The rain feels colder now that I've stopped. The woman is on with the dispatcher voice shaking, but clear, motorcycle down, conscious, bleeding. I don't see much blood, she's breathing. The phone crackles loud enough for me to hear. Keep her still. Keep her warm. Do not move the leg. I stare at the sky. The mist lands on my visor and makes tiny stars in the streetlights. My breath fogs the inside. I fight with the chin strap and finally thumb the release. Air rushes in and my teeth start to chatter. My phone is somewhere. I pat my jacket. It's in the inside pocket. The glass is cracked wet. Face ID won't read. I punch in my code with hands that won't stop shaking. Messages blur and jump. I tap Mr. Harris, emergency. I type, I had an accident. If I'm not back, could you please feed Pepper tonight? I add our building number, even though he knows it, because my brain wants to do one thing right. Spare key with you. I write and hit send. The woman squeezes my hand. They're close, she says. Stay with me. Sirens roll up like a wave, and then the street fills with blue and red. EMTs spill out with calm faces and bright stripes. Hi, I'm Ben, one says, kneeling in my field of view. What's your name, Kayla? I get out. Kayla, can you tell me what hurts? I touch my thigh and hiss. Okay, look at me, he says. We're going to check you over. Scissors talk up my pant leg. Cool air. Gloved hands press around the pain. Likely a femur fracture, someone says over my shoulder. Let's splint and go. They slide a board under me on a count of 3. The movement steals my breath, and I hear myself make a sound I don't recognize. I've got you, Ben says. A collar settles around my neck. A vacuum splint hugs my leg thick and sure. They lift me, and the rain turns to the white ceiling of the ambulance. Doors close with a clean clack, and the world becomes small and bright and chemical. Kayla, pain 1 to 10. 9. I say, then it spikes. Okay, meds coming. Any allergies? I shake my head. Anyone we can call Mr. Harris, I say. My cat, Pepper. He nods and passes my phone to a partner. Tape pulls on my skin. A cuff squeezes my arm. The siren starts as a soft wail and grows until it fills the space. I stare at the metal rail above me and breathe in time with the sound. The pain is huge, but it's not the only thing in my head. I picture Pepper on the shelf by the window, ears up at the hallway, noise, the bowl empty, the light fading. We sent the message, the partner says. You're not alone. I nod and blink hard. The ambulance rocks through a turn. Someone checks my pupils. Someone writes a time on a piece of tape and sticks it to my sleeve. Under everything, the same thought runs like a line of code. Pepper will be okay if I do the steps. I did the steps. Hold still. Breathe. Let them drive. They roll me under bright ER lights while I keep breathing like it's a job. A nurse clips a sensor on my finger, wraps a cuff on my arm and asks my name and birthday. I give both and say 9 when she asks about pain. An IV slides into the back of my hand. The room smells like disinfectant and plastic. A doctor in navy scrubs leans in, calm eyes, quick hands. We'll get x-rays and keep you comfortable, he says. I nod and watch the ceiling tiles drift by as they wheel me to imaging. The tech parks my gurney under a coal machine and says, "Don't move." He eases the plates where the splint allows and steps behind a wall. The machine hums and clicks. I stare at a dot in the ceiling paint and count my breaths again. When we're done, he pushes me back to a bay where the monitor beeps steady like a metronome. The orthopedic doctor arrives with a tablet and a soft voice. "I'm Dr. Alvarez. You have a mid-shaft femur fracture," he says, turning the screen so I can see the white line and the clear break. My stomach drops, but his voice stays even. We'll fix it with surgery, likely a rod down the centre of the bone. It's standard for this injury. We'll aim for tonight or first thing in the morning, depending on the OR schedule. You'll stay a couple of days, then go home with pain meds and blood thinners for clot prevention. Physical therapy will start early. It's a tough recovery, but the outlook is good. I ask the only question I can think of. Will I walk? He nods. Yes, with help at first. Then, more and more, on your own. He moves on to risks in plain words, bleeding, infection, nerve issues, clots, and watches me while I sign the consent. He tells me not to eat or drink after midnight and hands the pen back. When he leaves, a nurse named Bree comes in with a clipboard and a focus that makes me feel safe. She checks the splint, tucks a warm blanket around my shoulders and looks me in the eye. I need to be very clear, she says. After discharge, you must have someone with you for at least 72 hours. You'll be weak on meds and at risk of falling. You can't do stairs alone. You can't shower alone. You'll need help in and out of bed to the bathroom, with meals with your meds. Hospital policy also says you can't leave alone. A ride service can take you home, but that is not the same as care. Do you have someone? The word sits there like a weight. My mouth wants to say yes, because yes is easier and sounds like me. But I hear my voice come out honest. Not really. She nods, like she was ready for that. Think about who you can ask, she says. I'll check back. When she goes, the bay feels bigger and louder. A cart squeaks somewhere. Someone coughs behind a curtain. I look at the wristband on my arm, at my cracked phone on the tray. I think about friends scattered across states, about Mr. Harris who feeds my cat, but doesn't drive at night about how a van could drop me at the curb and still leave me stuck 2 feet from my own bed. The old line in my head handle. It doesn't fit the picture the nurse just drew. I unlock the phone and open the family group chat because that is the only door left. My hands shake, so I keep it short. I'm in the hospital. Femur fracture. Surgery is scheduled for the morning if a slot opens sooner. I'll be admitted a few days. I need someone to pick me up when I'm discharged and stay with me for the first 72 hours. Are any of you available? I read it twice. For typos, add the hospital name, then hit send. The word delivered lands under the bubble. I set the phone face down and try to breathe like it still helps. A tech comes to draw more blood and tapes a new label on a tube. Bree peeks in, raises a thumb and slides the curtain half closed. The monitor keeps time with its small green beats. I stare at the metal rails and tell myself to wait. Either the dots will start to dance under my message or they won't. They do, then stop. Read sits under the bubble like a verdict. The beeps from my monitor feel louder, while the clock on my lock screen slides from 9:18 to 9:22 to 9:29. I flip the phone face down, then up again, like that will make words appear. A grey typing bubble pops, swells and vanishes. My mouth is dry. I press my tongue to the roof of it and breathe. The first reply lands from Lena. Oh no, my Vegas ticket is non-refundable though, you'll manage right. I stare at the little face she picked the teeth, bared in a fake sorry. My thumbs type, it's surgery, and erase it. I don't want to beg. I don't want to explain a femur to someone who just asked about a ticket. Another bubble blinks and Evan drops in. Kay, you're tough. You've got this. I can almost hear his gym voice saying it, the one he uses for reps and captions. He means it as praise. It lands like a door closing. The monitor keeps time, my leg throbs with it. I type, not this time, and backspace until the field is empty. A nurse lifts the curtain edge, checks the bag on my IV pole and asks if I want anything for pain. I'm okay, I say, because I don't want to open my mouth for anything else right now. She nods, tucks the blanket tighter and slides away. The room goes bright and quiet again. Mum's reply takes longer. I watch the minutes scrape by. When it comes, I know what it is before I read it. Honey, don't put me in a bind. I promised your aunt. Can you ask a friend or reschedule the word bind sticks? My wristband scratches the inside of my arm. I picture my aunt laughing under knee on my mum's suitcase open on a hotel bed and me under hospital lights with a rod scheduled to go into my leg. My thumbs try a new start. Hospital policy says I can't leave alone. I delete that too. Facts won't change what people don't want to do. I set the phone down screen up this time and let it sit beside me like a small bright thing I don't trust. The grey dots don't return. Somewhere down the hall, a TV plays a game show at low volume claps, rising and falling like waves. I think about Mr. Harris feeding Pepper and the way my cat will chirp at him from the kitchen counter because she thinks every hand means food. The thought should comfort me. It does, and it doesn't. The cart squeaks back. The nurse asks my pain again. I give her a number that feels less than the real one. She offers to page the doctor if I need stronger meds. Maybe later, I say. I drink a few ice chips, and they taste like the inside of the freezer at work, clean and nowhere. The phone buzzes again and my chest jumps, but it's a flight deal from an airline app. I swipe it away. I scroll back up the thread to my own message and read it like I'm someone else short, clear adult. It doesn't sound like pleading. It sounds like a plan that has one missing piece. Across from me, the rail throws a thin shadow over my blanket, and I pin that line under my fingers to keep them from typing anything I'll regret. I don't ask again. I don't remind them about the 72 hours. I don't say, please. I let the 3 messages sit there in a row and decide what they are. The ceiling tiles are a grid of white squares with tiny holes like sand. I count them and lose count and start over until my eyes go hot. When I blink, the lights halo and smear. The pain in my leg is big and honest. It tells the truth with every pulse. The quiet in my phone feels colder. I roll the screen face down at last and turn my head toward the curtain. The blanket rustles and the plastic in it crackles softly. I breathe with the beep in and out even, and slow because that is one thing I can still control. By morning, the beep fades into the room and the only thing in front of me is a to-do list I can't avoid. A case manager stops by with a quick smile and the shape of my next 2 days surgery tonight if a slot opens. More likely, first thing in the morning, 2 or 3 days inpatient if all goes well, then home and rehab. I open notes and type a title in all caps, discharge, 72 hours. The list builds itself. I start with people. I call a college friend in Seattle. She's on a work trip and sounds genuinely sorry, promises FaceTime each night. I text Tasha. She's on a double and offers to drop soup but can't do pickup. Miguel says he'll try to swing by after his Sunday lunch shift. He can't promise the exact day I get discharged. Everyone is kind in small ways, which adds up to not enough. I call Mr. Harris and hear his old radio murmuring in the background. He'll feed Pepper, scoop the litter, and check my door. He won't drive after dark. Eyes aren't what they were, he says. Tell me what shelf her food is on. I tell him about the spare key in the plant pot and how she comes when you click your tongue. He laughs and says he'll practice. A nurse named Bree returns with her clipboard and that steady look. I'm going to be very clear again, she says. After discharge, you need someone with you for at least 72 hours. A ride is not care. I nod and say I'm working on it. She offers a social worker to help set up short-term in-home support. Pride lifts its head before sense. Let me try a couple more calls, I say. When she leaves, I search Medical Transport Portland and start dialing. The first company quotes a base fee plus per mile and a charge for wait time because discharge is a moving target. The second is cheaper, but only curb to curb. I need door help. The third offers an on-call window and assures me the driver can walk me to my apartment door if I add a mobility assist fee. I read their terms twice, give my address, gate code, building entry, and the part about the broken buzzer. I put the deposit on my card and watch the available credit dip. An email pings Medical Transport, confirmed with a reservation number and a cancellation penalty that makes me swallow. I switch to a grocery app and fill a cart like I'm building a soft wall to land on oatmeal cups, soup, yogurt, bananas, frozen vegetables, microwave rice, electrolyte drinks, ginger tea. I add straws, a lidded cup, ice packs, wet wipes, small trash bags and a pill organizer. I remember the warning about pain meds and add a stool softener. The total makes my stomach twist. I hit order anyway and schedule a delivery for the day before my possible discharge with instructions to leave bags inside the door if the neighbour lets them in. I close my eyes and walk my apartment in my head. Door, couch, bed, bathroom. No steps. I move things with thought, the charger to the nightstand, the kettle to the counter edge, bowls and mugs down from the high shelf. The rug rolled so I won't catch a crutch. I picture a tray table by the couch with my phone, water and notebook for meds the remote. I drag Pepper's litter box closer to the living room so I won't carry heavy trash far. I put the stool by the bed for my leg. It's ridiculous to rearrange furniture with my mind, but it's how I make a place I can actually survive. Money sits like a second pain. I check my balance. Rent is due. The card is close to its limit. I start a rough list in the same note: transport prescriptions, PT, missed shifts. I write call landlord if late and hate the way it looks. A pre-op nurse goes over anaesthesia checks allergies and tapes a band with a red stripe to my wrist. Nothing to eat or drink after midnight, she says. I sign another form slide off my ring and put it in a little hospital cup I don't want to lose. Bree pops her head in again. Do you have your ride and caregiver plan? Ride is set, I say. My neighbour will check in. It's true. But it isn't what she asks, and we both know it. She doesn't push. If you change your mind about extra help, say the word. After she leaves, my phone buzzes with a photo from Mr. Harris. Pepper perched on the kitchen shelf, eyes too big for her face a blur where her tail curls. She ate, he types. We're okay here. The knot in my chest loosens a notch. I text back a thank you and a heart. The transport confirmation sits next to my discharge. 72 hours list on the screen like two sides of a coin, the sterile plan and the human one. I add 3 more small items, move meds to eye-level tape the building code on the door for the driver, put a bell by the couch in case I need to call out. The beep goes on steady as a clock. I close my eyes and hold the phone to my chest, like it's both a lifeline and a bill. The door slides open. A woman in navy scrubs walks in holding a chart. I'm Dr. Harper. I'll be your surgeon. She sets the chart on the counter and comes to the side of my bed. Her voice is steady, low and clear. She looks at my splintered leg. First, then, at the monitor, then, at me. How's your pain right now? 7, I say. She nods and notes it down. She pulls a tablet from her pocket, taps the screen, and turns it toward me. An X-ray fills the display. She points to the middle of the bone. This is your femur. This line here is the fracture. It's a clean break through the shaft. She zooms in. We'll fix it with an intramedullary rod, basically a metal rod that goes down the centre of the bone. It's standard for this kind of injury. She explains step by step general anaesthesia incision near the hip, sliding the rod inside, locking it with screws at both ends. Risks include infection, bleeding clots, nerve damage, and delayed healing. We'll keep you on blood thinners for a while to prevent clots. You'll start walking with assistance within a day or 2. She checks my face. Any questions? No, I say. She studies me for a second. No one will be with you after surgery. The question catches me. I'm used to it, I say. This isn't about being tough, she says. The first 72 hours are the most dangerous. Pain medication can make you dizzy. You could faint or fall. You might need help getting in and out of bed, going to the bathroom, even making food. You should not be alone. I stare at the blanket. I'll figure it out. She folds her arms. If you want, I can call your family and explain why this is important. People often don't understand the seriousness when it comes from the patient. They hear it differently from the surgeon. They're busy, I say. I don't want to bother anyone. She tilts her head. It's not bothering them if it's about your safety, but it's your call. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small business card. If you change your mind, have the nurse page me. I'll make the call. She sets the card on my tray table and leaves. The room feels even quieter after she's gone. I stare at the card. My phone is next to it. I don't touch either. The day moves in pieces. A nurse adjusts my IV. Another checks my vitals. They wheel me to pre-op testing for blood work, then back to my bay. The clock hits noon. I'm told no food after midnight. My mouth is dry, but I'm not hungry. Mr. Harris texts me another photo of Pepper. She's sitting on the couch, tail wrapped around her feet. She's fine, he writes. The medical transport company sends a reminder email. I swipe it away. By evening, the hallway is dim. Nurses push carts of medication past my room. The smell of antiseptic drifts in every time the curtain moves. My phone hasn't buzzed with anything from family. I look at the list on my screen. Discharge 72 hours. The words look heavier now. I think about what Harper said. I picture myself at home on crutches trying to make it from bed to the bathroom, maybe feeling dizzy, maybe falling. No one there to pick me up. No one to call 911 if I hit my head. It's not about pride. It's about not ending up back here worse than I am now. At midnight, the nurse brings me ice chips. I thank her and try to sleep. The sounds of the hospital keep me awake, Monitors, beeping wheels, squeaking, someone coughing down the hall. The card is still on my tray. I keep glancing at it in the dark. At 5:30 a.m., I'm awake and staring at the ceiling. My leg aches. I reach for my phone, then put it down. At 6 a.m., I press the call button. A nurse steps in. I need to talk to Dr. Harper, I say. She appears 10 minutes later, same calm face. If your offer still stands, I say, you can call my mum. She nods. Give me her number and a backup in case she doesn't answer. I give her my mum's number and Evan's. She writes them on a notepad. I'll be clear about what you need. Pick up, 72 hours of care and a backup plan. I'll call this morning. I nod. My shoulders drop just a little. It feels like I've let go of something heavy, even if it's only for a moment. She leaves with the numbers in her hand. The card is gone from my tray. I watch the door close and think her call might do what my message couldn't. In Las Vegas, my mum sits at a hotel buffet in the late morning. The room is bright with gold light from the chandeliers. Slot machine sounds drift in from the casino next door, mixed with music from hidden speakers. Plates clatter, forks scrape, waiters weave between tables. She has a plate full of eggs fruit and a cinnamon roll. She laughs at something my aunt just said about the bride's gown. Her phone buzzes on the table screen lit with an unknown number. She hesitates, then answers. This is Mrs. Turner, she says. Mrs. Turner, this is Dr. Harper. I am your daughter, Kayla's surgeon at St. Mary's Hospital in Portland. The voice says calm and measured. My mum sits up straighter. Is she okay? She has a serious femur fracture and is scheduled for surgery today, Harper says. After discharge, she will need close monitoring for at least 72 hours. At the moment, she has no caregiver in place. That creates a high risk for falls, wound complications, and readmission. My mum's expression tightens. No caregiver, that's correct, Harper says. Hospital policy requires a responsible adult to assist during that period. This is not just policy, it's a medical necessity. Pain medication can cause dizziness, blood pressure can drop unexpectedly, and there's a real risk of injury if she tries to move around alone. The background noise of the buffet suddenly feels too loud. My mum's spoon slips from her fingers and drops into her bowl, splashing broth onto the tablecloth. She picks it up but doesn't eat. What time is her surgery, she asks. Likely this afternoon. She'll stay here for 2 or 3 days afterward. But those first days at home are critical. My mum exhales slowly. Thank you for telling me. I understand. She ends the call and stands scanning the crowded buffet. Evan is at the dessert station loading cheesecake onto his plate. Lena is near the entry holding her phone up for a selfie with the casino lights behind her. Evan? Lena, she calls sharply. They both look over surprised. She motions them over. What's wrong? Evan asks as he walks up. We're leaving, now she says. Why? We just got here, Lena says. Kayla's having surgery today, my mum says. She can't be alone after. The doctor called me. We have to go back. Lena frowns, but the wedding. She needs us more than the wedding needs us, mum cuts in. I'll call your aunt from the airport. Evan looks between them. When's her surgery today? The doctor says she needs someone with her for the first 72 hours at home or she's in danger. Evan's face hardens. Okay, let's pack. Lena exhales through her nose but doesn't argue further. They split up toward their rooms. My mum heads straight to the elevator's phone in hand. She calls the airline as she walks. 3 tickets, earliest flight to Portland. Yes, one way. Yes, today. Upstairs, she packs quickly clothes into a suitcase, toiletries into a zip bag, shoes tossed on top. She checks the room twice, zips the suitcase and pulls it into the hallway. 10 minutes later, the 3 of them meet in the lobby, bags in hand. The casino noise spills into the air every time the doors open. My mum checks them out at the front desk. Outside, the heat hits instantly. The taxi line is short. A driver loads their bags into the trunk. They get in. The hotel shrinks behind them as the car pulls away. At the airport, they move quickly through security. Evan buys a bottle of water. Lena scrolls on her phone. My mum keeps checking the time. Boarding is called. They hand over their passes, walk down the jet bridge and find their seats. The plane doors close, the safety video plays. The engines start to hum. In Portland, I'm asleep. My hands rest on the blanket. The monitor beeps steadily. A nurse steps in, checks my IV, adjusts the blanket, and leaves without waking me. The hallway is quiet, except for distant footsteps. Back in Las Vegas, the plane pushes back from the gate, turns onto the runway, and begins to accelerate. My mum grips the armrest as the wheels leave the ground. The city falls away, beneath them neon fading into desert. In Portland, the morning light comes through the blinds in my hospital room. I shift slightly still asleep, unaware of the movement already set in motion. By the time I wake up, they'll already be in the air. I wake to dim light and a steady beep. My mouth is dry. A soft tube sits under my nose. My right leg is heavy and wrapped tight. A nurse leans over me. "Surgery went well," she says. "Rod inside the bone, minimal blood loss. Rate your pain. 6, I whisper. She taps the screen. "Small ice chips only. We'll move you to a room soon." She slips a cold spoon of ice to my lips. When she steps aside, I feel a warm hand holding mine. I turn my head and see my mum. Her eyes are red. Her grip is steady. For a second, I think I'm dreaming. Then I blink clear and see Evan against the wall with a backpack and Lena in a wrinkled hoodie clutching a travel pillow. Both look exhausted. "Hey," Mum says, "don't talk yet." I try anyway, but my voice scrapes. The nurse shakes her head and gives me another bit of ice. I swallow and breathe. "Harper called me," Mum says low and direct. "We didn't know it was this serious." We flew back. Evan steps closer. "We left Vegas," he says. "Earliest flight." Lena nods. "We're here. We're not leaving." Relief hits first. Then a tight, hot feeling under my ribs. I stare at the ceiling for a beat until it passes. The nurse checks my blood pressure and adjusts the IV. "You'll be in recovery a little longer," she says. "If pain rises above a 6, tell me." I nod. Mum rubs my knuckles with her thumb. "We've got your first 3 days," she says. "Tonight, I'm staying with you at the apartment," Evan adds. "I'll go grab your meds and set up what you need. I can handle stairs and lifting. Lena says groceries and soft food are ordered. I'll organise your meds and make a simple schedule so we don't miss doses." I manage. Pepper Mom smiles a little. "Mr. Harris fed her. He sent pictures. She's fine." Lena opens her phone and shows me a photo of Pepper on the couch. My eyes sting. I blink it back. Evan checks his watch. Do we still need that medical transport? I can rent a car if they can't handle the stairs. The nurse hears him and steps over. Transport is okay if it's already set, but family can ride along. You'll need someone to walk her in and make sure she's settled. "We'll go with the driver," Evan says. "I'll follow instructions." Mum squeezes my hand. "I'll ride in the back with you." Lena types notes. "I'll meet you at the apartment and prep the space." The nurse brings a small device. "We need you to breathe into this every hour," she says. "Incentive spirometer. Keeps your lungs open." She shows me once. I pull air through it and watch the marker rise. My chest aches, but it's manageable. A resident stops by, checks the dressing on my thigh, and confirms the plan, 2 or 3 days, in the hospital then home, with precautions, blood thinners, and early PT. He asks about allergies again. I shake my head. He leaves a printout at the foot of the bed. Evan picks it up and scans. "We'll set timers," he says. "No, missed doses." Lena adds, "I'll label everything big." Mom says, "We'll move cords, roll up the rug, Put a tray by the couch and keep the bathroom clear. I nod. The plan helps. The pain hums in the background, steady, but contained. A transport aide peeks in and says it will be 30 more minutes before they take me upstairs. The nurse offers more ice. I try a few words. Thank you for coming. Mum leans closer. We should have been here sooner, she says. Evan looks down. Lena's eyes shine and she wipes them with her sleeve. We're here now, she says. The beep keeps steady time. The room smells like alcohol wipes and warm plastic. My throat still burns, so I go quiet again and hold my mum's hand. The nurse checks the IV one more time and tucks the blanket around my leg. Pain, she asks. 5, I say. She nods. Good. We'll aim to keep it there. She reminds us about signs to watch for at home. Fever, sudden swelling, new numbness, bleeding through the dressing. Lena writes them down word for word. Evan asks about stairs to my unit. The nurse answers with safe steps. 2 people, small movements, rest at landings. Mum confirms the building code and gate instructions with me. I give them slowly. Evan repeats them back. The transport aide returns with a chart. Room's ready, she says. We'll move you in a few. Mum stands and keeps our hands linked until they come with the gurney. Evan swings his backpack on. Lena slips her phone into a pocket. I take a breath and nod. For now, this is enough. They came, and we have a plan. The question in my chest can wait until I can speak without pain. By late afternoon, my voice is steadier. I ask for the door to close. Mum steps over and eases it shut. Evan stands near the window. Lena pulls a chair closer. I take a small sip of water and look at each of them. Where were you when I asked? I say quiet but clear. No one answers at first. The monitor keeps its slow beat. Evan drops his eyes and rubs the back of his neck. I'll go first, he says. I used your toughness as an excuse not to worry. I've said, you've got this. So many times it became a way to bow out. I told myself I was supporting you by believing in you. I was avoiding showing up. I'm sorry. He looks up and holds it. I won't do that again. Lena grips the chair arms. I treated you like a life raft, she says. I liked that you could fix things. It let me stay the fun one who never plans. When you texted from the hospital, I thought about my ticket before I thought about you. That's ugly, but it's true. I'm sorry. Mum sits on the edge of the bed. Her eyes are wet. I overlooked you for years, she says. I decided you were the one who didn't need help, and I built the family around that. I can say I was busy or stressed, but those are excuses. I'm sorry. I breathe once and nod. The words land, but they need weight. I appreciate you saying it, I tell them. I need it to be different in action. No more, you've got this as a free pass. When I ask, answer. If you can't say you can't, don't go silent. And for now, the next 3 days have to be covered without gaps. Evan nods fast. Spell it out. Rides to physical therapy when they start, I say. Help getting in and out of bed. Meals in reach. Meds on time. Someone with me at night the first 2 nights. Daily check-ins after that. Lena takes out her phone. Let's put it on a schedule. Evan opens his calendar. Mum pulls a pen from her purse and a small notebook. We start simple. Tonight, Mum stays at my apartment. Evan meets the transport at discharge and handles the stairs and the pharmacy. Lena goes ahead to the apartment to set up the couch station, roll up rugs, move cords, and put food at counter height. Tomorrow, Mum takes the morning and overnight. Evan handles afternoon lifting and early errands. Lena handles meds timers and dinner. Day 3, Evan does morning transport to the follow-up if scheduled. Mum rests midday and returns at night. Lena manages the app reminders and deliveries. Evan creates a shared calendar and titles it Kayla Care 72 Hours. He blocks shifts and adds addresses, codes and phone numbers. Lena adds alarms for meds and blood thinners and a big font note on signs to watch fever, swelling, new numbness, bleeding. She tapes the list to her phone case to copy later at home. I needed you before this too, I say. My voice shakes a little. Not just now. Mum nods right away. You did. I didn't see it. That won't happen again. Evan says, we'll earn back trust one task at a time. Lena says, you won't have to chase us. We'll check in first. A nurse comes in to take my vitals. She asks my pain score and I tell her 5. She has me use the spirometer again. I pull air and watch the marker rise. She reminds us of the no-go list. No solo showers, no stairs alone, no bending to lift, no walking without support the first days. Evan writes each one into the calendar notes. The nurse smiles at the schedule on the screen. This is good, she says. Keep it tight and simple. She leaves. The room is quiet again. I look at the 3 of them. If this is real, I'll see it, I say. Today is a good start. Mum squeezes my shoulder. It's real. Evan taps the calendar and shares it to my email. A buzz hits my phone on the tray. Lena opens a group text titled Gala Updates and adds me Mum and Evan. We'll use this, she says. No more missed messages? And when you don't know what to say, I add, say, you don't know what to say. Don't disappear. They all nod. I feel tired in the clean way that follows hard work. The plan sits there, not perfect, but solid. I lean back against the pillow. Thank you, I say, for saying it and for writing it down. Evan sets an alarm for my next dose. Mom adjusts the blanket and checks the call button in my reach. Lena gathers the printouts and tucks them into a folder labelled Home. I close my eyes for a moment and let the quiet hold. This is what change looks like at the start. Words are calendar and people who stay. The calendar goes live the night I'm discharged. Evan meets the medical transport downstairs and walks beside the gurney all the way to my door. Mom carries the pharmacy bag and the thick packet of instructions. Lena has the apartment opened rugs, rolled cords, taped, and a tray set by the couch with water meds, the spirometer and the call button. Getting inside is slow. Evan takes the stairs with me one step at a time, talking less than usual steady hand on my elbow. It hurts, but we reach the couch without a slip. Mum checks my temperature, starts the first dose clock, and writes times on a sticky note in big block letters. Lena confirms the grocery delivery window and puts soft food at eye level. That first night, Mum stays. She wakes me for meds, hands me ice, and cues the spirometer every hour. I'm cranky at 2 a.m. and say I'm fine, but she stays polite and returns 10 minutes later like we agreed. Lena scoops Pepper off my blanket when the cat wanders too close to my leg and shows me a picture to prove Pepper is okay on the chair. In the shared calendar, each task flips to done as they complete it. Seeing the marks helps me breathe. Morning comes. Evan helps me to the bathroom with the walker, counting each move, sit, stand, pivot. It's awkward and slow. Mom and Lena wait outside the door. I say I've got it. Mom asks 2 follow-ups. My tone sharpens. We stop. She steps back and says, "Okay, call me if you need me." She doesn't leave. She just gives me space. After Lena brings oatmeal and yogurt and points to the big note, Meds 9-1610. A home PT video call runs late morning. The therapist shows simple exercises, ankle pumps, quad sets, gentle bends and safe transfers in and out of bed. Evan records the instructions on my phone. Lena builds a checklist from the video. Mom sets a timer for rest between sets. It hurts, but it's organised. Mid-afternoon, we hit our first line crossing. Lena lifts her phone to snap a picture of the recovery station. I say, "Please don't post." She puts the phone down right away, says sorry and deletes the shot. Boundary respected. That counts. Day 2 starts with an in-person PT session. Evan drives the car, helps me into the seat, the way the therapist showed us, and moves at my pace. Mum packs the meds, water and ice packs. Lena stays back to tidy run a small load of laundry and confirm the next grocery order. At PT, we practice weight shift, the first steps on the walker and safe car transfers. It's exhausting. Coming home, Evan waits at each landing and checks my face for dizziness without making a big deal of it. Mum opens doors and clears the path. Lena texts soup's hot and ready. Mr. Harris knocks around dusk to return the spare key and asks how I'm doing. Lena writes his number on the fridge and notes feeding times for Pepper in case we need him again. Evan empties the small trash by the couch, rinses my water bottle, and sets out the evening meds. Mum reheats soup checks for swelling and logs my pain number. I try to stand and get my own spoon. Evan is faster and hands one to me. I say, "Thank you." It still feels strange to be served, but I let it happen. That night, we argue for 15 seconds about the spirometer timer. I want sleep. Mum asks for 3 pulls. We compromise. She adds 10 minutes, then wakes me with a whisper. I do the 3 pulls and fall back asleep. No drama. No one storms off. Day 3 moves smoother. Lena prints a big 72-hour tracker and tapes it to the wall. Temps pain scores, meds, exercises. Evan spots me on 3 slow laps around the coffee table, stands close without grabbing, and lets me rest when I ask. Mum calls the PT hotline when a thigh ache feels sharp. They reassure us it's normal and tell us what to watch for. We adjust the ice schedule. In the afternoon, Lena gets a text to hang out. It's during her shift. She sighs, then texts back that she's on care duty and can't go. I hear her say another time. She doesn't make a show of it. She tapes bigger labels on the pill bottles when I squint at the print. By evening, the grid on the wall is mostly checked off. The last few boxes flip from blank to done in the shared calendar. We sit for a minute without moving. The apartment is quiet, except for Pepper snoring on the chair. I feel tired, sore, and oddly calm. It feels strange to be truly cared for. It is not perfect. We still bump edges, but they cook, they drive, they set timers, they clean up, they show up. Change is not in the apologies anymore. It's in the actions that arrive on time and repeat. When the 72 hours end, we don't close the app. We set a simple weekly plan rides to PT grocery runs, check-ins at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. If someone can't make a slot, they swap and confirm in the group text. No more silence. I lean back, look at the calendar, and feel the shape of a new routine forming. It's small and sturdy. That's enough for now. That evening the lamp is warm and the apartment is quiet. Pepper curls at my feet. Mum sits on the other end of the couch with her knitting in her lap. Evan takes out the trash. Lena is in the kitchen sorting tomorrow's meds. I wait until the timers are done and the room settles. Why did it take a broken leg for you to see I needed you? I ask. My voice is steady. Mum sets the yarn aside and turns to face me. She doesn't look away. For a few seconds, no one talks. I watch her think. We labelled you early, she says. You were the easy one. You played by yourself, got yourself ready, learned fast. We called it independence and praised it. We stopped checking. She pauses. When Evan struggled, we stepped in. When Lena needed attention, we stepped in. With you, we assumed you didn't need help. That was wrong. I ask, when did that start? She gives examples without dressing them up. In middle school, I took the late bus alone while she worked overtime. In high school, I made dinner when she was tired, and no one asked if I wanted help. As an adult, I handled errands because I was efficient, and it quietly became my job. I confuse competence with invulnerability, she says. That's on me. I feel the words hit and then leave space. I still need family. I say I just don't want to be hurt to be noticed. Mum nods. You shouldn't have to be injured for us to show up. Evan comes back from the hallway and leans against the doorframe. Lena steps out of the kitchen and sits on the arm of a chair. I ask them to sit because I want them to hear the same thing. Here's what I need going forward, I say. No more read and silent. If I ask, answer. If you can't help, say so, and suggest something else. Ask before assuming I've got it. Keep using the calendar and the update thread. That system works. Mum says agreed. Evan says agreed. Lena says agreed. Mum adds her plan without waiting for praise. I'll check in Tuesdays and Fridays at set times, not random. I'll put your PT and follow-ups into my phone and take turns driving. Evan says I'll be the default for heavy lifting and rides when you need them. If I can't, I'll post in the thread and swap. Lena says I'll manage reminders and deliveries, and I won't post anything about you without permission. I test it once small and practical. I stand with the walker and reach for a glass on the counter. Do you want help or a spot, Evan asks. Spot, I say. He stands close but doesn't take over. I pour the water without shaking. It's simple, but it's different. We sit again. Mum looks at me. I wish I had seen this sooner, she says. I'm sorry I didn't. I nod. I hear you. I'll believe the change when I see it. Lately, I'm seeing it. Evan says, you won't hear "you've got this" from me as a way to leave anymore. If I say it, it'll be while I'm standing next to you. Lena says, if I mess up, I'll say it and fix it, not disappear. I tell them the part I didn't say before. Sometimes I didn't ask because I didn't want to hear nothing back. Sometimes I didn't ask because I didn't want to be the problem. Mum takes that in. From now on, if you ask and I don't see it, that's on me. I'll set an alert on our thread so I don't miss messages. She pulls out her phone and does it right there. Evan shares the updated calendar again, with colour codes, rides meds, PT chores. Lena adds a pinned note at the top of the thread. No silence. Ask first. Confirm shifts. Boundaries, no posts. I breathe easier. The air in the room feels normal. We talk about the week ahead. PT twice. A follow-up with the surgeon. Groceries on Thursday. Pepper's litter on Saturday. Then I say the thing that matters to me beyond recovery. I still want the culinary program in New York, I tell them. It doesn't have to be all at once. I can start with some online classes. I'll need help with time and money planning. Mum says I'll research costs and aid with you. Evan says I'll help build a practice schedule around PT. Lena says I know someone who did that program. I'll ask about scholarships. I feel a small lift in my chest, not dramatic, but real. We wrap up the night routine. Mom sets the last med alarm. Evan brings the ice pack. Lena relabels a bottle in bigger print and tapes tomorrow's plan to the fridge. Pepper hops down and follows me to the bedroom door. I turn back to the couch. Thank you for listening, I say. Thank you for answering. Mom squeezes my shoulder. Evan salutes with the empty ice tray. Lena gives me a quick smile and a thumbs up. I'm tired in a clean way. I switch off the lamp. Being strong is useful. Being seen is necessary. 2 months later, the walker is gone and my scar is pale but honest. I still bring a cane for long walks, but most days I don't need it. PT is down to twice a week. The shared calendar stays simple rides, check-ins at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. grocery runs on Thursdays. Tonight, I tell them what I've been thinking since the hospital. I'm applying to an advanced culinary program in New York, I say. I'll start with online classes now and aim for in-person next term if my leg and money allow. No one stalls. Mum says, let's map the costs. Evan says, we'll tune rehab for kitchen work. Lena says, I'll start housing research. We split tasks immediately. Mum opens her laptop and a clean spreadsheet. We estimate tuition fees, flights rent, Ranger's food, and an emergency line. She offers to cover part of the first term and the first flight, then adds, you're in charge. I am a helper, not a boss. Evan pulls a chair to the kitchen and builds a rehab plan that matches the job standing blocks of 20 minutes with 5-minute rests, safe turning with a tray, lifting limits grip work, and a mock 4-hour line with scheduled breaks. He puts the plan into the calendar and sets gentle alarms labelled practice, not warning. Lena opens 3 tabs for sublets near the program checks, transit time neighborhood safety, and whether buildings have elevators. She pings a friend who finished the same program and asks about scholarships and good landlords. I gather application steps. Miguel agrees to write a recommendation. I plan a 6-dish portfolio and a short video. We assign roles. I cook. Lena shoots photos in daylight and edits. Evan runs the timer and calls out plating times. Mom proofreads the essay and checks forms for errors. We do it over 2 weekends. Day 1 is soups and vegetables. Day 2 is a fish course and 2 small desserts. The kitchen gets hot. My leg aches by the second hour. We pause and I sit. Evan says, rest is part of training. I nod and keep going. The photos look clean. Miguel's letter lands in my inbox short, strung to the point. I write my essay about what changed. I used to think resilience meant doing it alone. Now I know support makes the work better and safer. Mum fixes commas and leaves the story alone. We hit the scholarship forms next. Lena tracks deadlines and sets reminders. Mom scans documents and saves them in a shared folder. Evan checks the video for sound and steadiness. Mr. Harris knocks one afternoon and says he can watch Pepper if I have to fly for an interview. I thank him and give him the updated spare key tag. The night before I submit, we run through a final list portfolio, uploaded essays, pasted, recommendation attached, fee paid. I click submit. A confirmation email appears, application received. I breathe out and feel the room settle. The next week we keep the plan going. Evan's mock line helps. I can stand longer without pain and my turns are safer. Lena sends 3 housing options with prices and transit times. One has an elevator and a grocery store on the corner. Mum and I meet for an hour with the budget and make small cuts that don't hurt. I schedule PT around the 2 online modules that start in 3 weeks. One morning, my phone buzzes, interview scheduled next month, video first. I forward it to the thread. Mum sends a heart. Evan sends practice panel cues tonight. Lena replies with a calendar invite and a link to a quiet co-work space for the call. On Sunday, I do a full kitchen practice. Evan times me. Lena watches for unsafe moves. Mum sits with a cup of tea and takes notes on anything I reach for too often. At the end, I'm sweaty and happy and only a little sore. We clean up together. That afternoon, I bake 2 loaves to test a bread formula for the portfolio addendum. The apartment smells like warm bread. When the timer goes off, I set 1 loaf on the rack and let the crust crackle. I tie on a new apron I bought with part of a gift card from the restaurant. The knot sits flat against my back. My scar shows below my shorts and I don't cover it. Pepper hops onto the counter and sniffs the air. I cut a slice and pass pieces around. We eat standing up in the small kitchen, talking about the week, PT Monday mock interview, Wednesday housing calls. Friday. I think about the girl who handled everything and the woman who asked for help when it mattered. True strength isn't doing everything alone. It's knowing when to let people stay. True strength isn't doing everything alone. It's knowing when to let people stay.